Vincent's Rock Garage.
Good evening, everybody. Alright, I am going to just start cutting a few rocks here. We're going to watch the process. I've started to shape. The first one we're working on is a piece of sodalite. Sodalite looks a lot like lapis. It has a little more white veining going through it. I've already taken this up from the diamond wheels, which are on the far end. Started on 600 here. I'm going to go back to the 600 grit for a little bit and just see what I can work out. And then we'll move it up, and it should get shinier as we go up. Right now it's pretty matte still. You can't see the light reflection quite as well until it's wet. Once we wet it, that's what it'll look like at the end. You can see the light reflecting in it, in the shape. We may get a little bit noisy, but hopefully you can still hear me. Right now I'm just working out the scratches from the previous step, the heavier grit. See what it looks like at the end, if I can get this puppy to shine up. An important thing to note is even though these wheels are spinning 1800 RPM, and we're working with little diamond burrs to take away bits of rock at a time, it does very little to your hand. It doesn't scratch up your fingers. It will give you a heck of a manicure, but it's not going to hurt your fingers unless you catch an edge. But it sure does a number on a hard stone. And we're going to jump up now to our 1200 grit, the next higher polish. And I'm moving along pretty quickly, a little faster than I would normally. Or maybe even a little faster than you should. I'm going to check this stone in a minute. I'm going to dry everything off and see if I can see any of the scratches left from the previous stage. Alright, let's see what we got now. This is... I've dried the stone off because you got to dry it in order to see any of the scratches and imperfections. When it's wet, it hides everything. So you can see through a lot of it. You can still see the light reflecting. There is some haze there, so I'm going to go back and work on that spot a little bit more. You can see the light on the bottom. So sodalite can be a little bit tricky. Now that hazy spot may not even come out till the next step. Or I might have to go back down to a heavier grit to try and get that piece out. I'm going to keep working here at 1200 grit, see what I can do. I also have a light here shining on the product. So I can check this light even though it's wet. Using this reflection helps me see where the imperfections are. So this, again, it's wet. You can now see the light reflecting in there, so you know you're getting a good dome. All right, dry her off again. See how she looks now. Here. So that hazy piece in the center has cleared up a lot from running it back over that 1200 grit. So I'm just working on a piece of sodalite here that I cut and shaped just out of a rough blank a moment ago. I slabbed that a few weeks back. I'm trying to make this thing shine as much as I can. Now I'm bumping it up. Now I'm going to be on 3000 grit diamond wheel. And this should help bring out the shine even further. How you doing with this heat, Donna? Is it a hot one there? Yeah. Hopefully you're staying inside. And again, all this is doing, this 3000 grit, is taking out the scratches from the wheel before it. It's about all it will do. It's not going to shape this stone any further. 104 degrees. Oh my lord. So we're getting even more polished. So now this is a dry stone. You can see the light reflecting in that stone all the way through. So we got a nice polish going on that guy. Now I think I'm going to donate this one to Matt. So you might see it in one of his shows coming up if you want to purchase that one. But I'm going to start on the next one now, shaping from the beginning. So it's the same form. All right. So Chris, how you doing? I'm carving some sodalite from this. I'm about to start shaping this slab to this. I just finished this one up. That's my first one tonight. Nice and shiny. It's got some chatoyancy to it. It's hard to tell on this camera. But I'm going to start grinding this puppy on the hard diamond wheel. I'm going to start down here. I have a 60 grit mesh wheel here. And this one all the way on the end is going to take off a lot of material, but it's going to leave it looking really rough and scratchy. And then I'll take it the next one up, which is a 100 hard diamond wheel. We'll take off a good bit of material, but not as much as the one prior, and it'll start smoothing it out. I'm going to work my way up, 280, 600, 1200, 3000 grit. And as I go up, it'll take out the scratches from the one before it. Let's check my water supply. That looks good. Turn on my water to keep the wheel cool. And this is the noisiest part of this whole night. So this wheel is taking off huge chunks of material. But it's going to get us down to the form we want as quickly as possible. Oh, Emily likes the blue rock. Probably too big though. She wants a much smaller version. This blue rock is called sodalite. I don't know why it's called sodalite. It looks a lot like lapis. I have a chunk of lapis over here. So a lot of people substitute sodalite for lapis because that sodalite is the less expensive of the same type of indigo blue. And this lapis, once it gets, this is dry, once it gets wet, it is just an amazing blue. And you compare that to it's not even close. But when you don't have them sitting next to each other, that's a nice blue shimmer right there. So it works good enough for a lot of people. And some people even prefer the Sodalite over the Lapis because of all the little white veining and colors and differences. So now I've got the rough shape cut out with that heavy wheel. And now I'm going to take it to the 100 grit hard diamond wheel. And that's going to help remove the scratches from the prior and let me finesse the form a little bit to get it just right to my little outline there. So it's extra thick. But now it's time to set the girdle. And all I really want to do is set how deep I want that flat edge to be. This is a relatively thick stone, and it's kind of simple to do. Sharpie marker, dry stone. You come in. I have a depth I like already. Hold the marker in one place, spin the stone to make the mark. And this is just my guide point. I'm actually going to grind this piece away after the next step. But this is how I make sure my dome goes to the same spot all the way around. So now you'll see this line is nearly the same depth all the way throughout the stone. So I'm going to grind away all this top part. From there to the point, that's where I get the dome. Also, with a stone like this, there are times, so I would never cut it in half. You could, if it was a little bit thicker, Lisa, I would cut this in half and use it for 2 stones. But this slab was cut thick anyway. And that's what the start of it looked like. I cut this down from a big square down to these pieces that fit the shape I was going for. Where was I going now before I answered that question? Oh, with a stone like this, there's 2 materials in here, or maybe 3. You have whatever's making the indigo blue, you have whatever's making the white, probably a quartz-like material, and then you have a dark, almost black color material. And they're slightly different hardnesses. So that you got to be careful as you're grinding this to make sure that when you're working over the harder, in this case the white is harder than the blue, that you're not pushing too hard to make the blue go away faster than the white. And if that happens, undercutting the stone, you get a little bumpy or ripply stone. This one I cut earlier, for anybody just joining us. That is another Sodalite. I'm trying to duplicate this. Making some Sodalite cabochons, and I made one earlier. That's a dry stone. It's already been polished fully. So the next is going to take away just enough material to get rid of those little ridges and make it a rounded stone. Now also, I've rounded it out now. A lot of those little facets are gone. They're not all gone, but we're working on that. Now I'm going to go underneath that line there. I'm going to finish taking out scratches from around the girdle. And again, this is a slightly less aggressive wheel at 280 grit versus the flat or hard wheels, which were 60 and 100 grit. Alright. So we're going to dry off this stone. We're going to do a little checking now, see what and if there's anything we need to fix. And I see some issues. I'll show you what they are in a second. I also have to dry off my hands. And I gotta add some water to my water supply. So I will be right back. All right, where are we? So this is the polished one that we worked on earlier. It's a little thick. This is the one I'm working on now. It's dry right now, so you can see it looks a little bit hazy, a little flat or matte color. So what I'm going to do next, I think I'm going to go back to the 280 wheel. And if I look at this piece of girdle right here, you see how sharp that is? It didn't quite round over enough. And I want to soften that a touch. So we'll go back and hit this for a little bit longer on the 280 wheel. Alright, now it's going to be time to move up. So we're back to hazy, fuzzy, but the edge now is soft. You can see that that sharp line is gone. And it rolls over to a nice soft edge all the way through. So now it's time to start the polishing. The center is the way to go. Alright, but we're going to dry this one off now and see where we are as far as scratches goes. I hope I've earned your subscription. Thank you.